Next stop, Chicago Junction.
And good evening, and yes, it is time for this month's broadcast of Chicago Junction, a program that takes you to the wonderful world of trains, with the help from our panel, and sometimes we have calling guests and visitors. I am your announcer, Brian Valou, and here is our boss, the head of the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, and Chief Electrical Engineer, Mr. John DeVita.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Chicago Junction from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Wednesday, August the 10th, the year 2022. Today, the panel will be talking about railroads and, of course, model railroads. And now to start today's broadcast, here's our announcer, Mr. Brian. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, John, and thank you. Yes, I am Brian Valou. I'm also one of the panel. And let's see, I like trains. And it's one of the reasons why we're here. We're all aficionados of the railroad hobby one way or another. And I'm into garden railroading. I'm into good old Lionel O-Gauge. And I like reading up on the history and such. Going through the history of steam, history of the diesel. And unfortunately, I only have a little bit of knowledge, so I'm real dangerous.
You've always been dangerous.
That's true, too. But I'm also a member of several of organizations and museums. Heston Steam Museum would be one. The Reading Company Technical and Historical Society in Hamburg, Pennsylvania, which the museum, if you ever get back there, you should go see. Its museum is one of the largest collection of one railroad's equipment, and they keep finding more. And building up their museum real nice. And also, I did work for the railroad as an engineer and conductor, and also became involved with Operation Lifesaver, going around, and I still do programs, if I get contacted, on rail safety with both. We're talking small kids all the way up to the older adults. And that's one thing I'm really passionate about. And to the other members of our panel, to my left I have Mr. Doug Kenyuk.
Hi, this is Doug Kenyuk, longtime N-scaler, rail fan, officer in the Railroad and Short Lines Club of Chicago, adjunct professor at Wright College, and, like Brian says, I'm a ferroquinologist.
Ferroequinologist.
Ooh, that's a 50-cent word.
75.
Oh, 75? Oh, I don't have a word that can top that. I'm Ron Messner, and I'm a garden railroad, and I love trains, and I love to see other structures of what railroads do in the country. I experienced, I was in Cincinnati, and the bridges that were there, the up and down bridges, there were a whole lot of them, and we were coming out of a park that was one of those Summerfest things, and a boat was larger that it couldn't go underneath, so the bridge raised. It was quite interesting to see it raise. It looked brand new. It was painted and everything, so I've had a good time, but I love trains.
Did you get to tour the station?
No, we were...
You didn't go to CUT?
No, my son was the driver, so he was taking me.
Next time I go down, I'm taking you with me.
Thank you.
All right?
I'm willing. You just tell me when. I'll pack my bag and...
Don't worry. That way you can meet my mother-in-law.
Oh, how exciting.
Hi. I'm Kevin, and I'm a foamer. My name is Kevin Berry. I'm a retired Chicago police sergeant.
Whee!
I'm a director with the Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club, and I'm a lifetime Lionel collector and operator since 1957.
You must have a lot of trains.
A couple. It's not polite to talk about how many you have because someone may not be as fortunate as you are.
That is correct.
That's true.
You know, it's like me. I have a lot, but I got them from all different eras. I've got pre-war, post-war, MPC, right up to the modern ones, and I'm still waiting for one to come into the hobby shop so I can pick it up, i.e. the Genesis unit, Amtrak unit. For some reason, I needed it for Operation Lifesaver. Yeah.
And you really needed it.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I thought.
My neighbor asked if he could borrow my Lionel catalogs. He wanted a Lionel Acela until he saw the price. And he said, it's a little too rich for my blood. It's hard to go from the Thomas the Tank that you bought for your son, who is now in high school, to a $1,600 engine.
Yeah, but you got a complete train set out of it.
I understand that, but
Didn't you use your charm to elude him to that?
he's in the process of moving into a new house, and if he told me it was a little too rich for his blood, I didn't think it was civilized to tell someone, you just bought a house in the suburbs and you can't afford $1,600 for a train engine.
You had to be very careful on how you did that.
Yeah, seeing as he just retired from Chicago and now works for Amtrak.
But he could have 11 payments of 160, but wait, there's more. Might have a piece of track too.
You know, he will get it when he's ready, because he loves that particular style of engine. You know, it would be like trying to convince Brian to forsake all of his other trains and limit himself only to G gauge.
Would you like to sit on it and spin?
Ooh, really?
Yes.
Oh, well, let's keep it. Let's keep it.
Well, I did.
I know
could
you
have
did.
said-
I know you did. You
He could have told me to hit myself in the head with a house brick.
or one of your trains.
Oh, no, that ain't happening.
No, even I'm not that cruel.
He can have the wife and the dog first.
Oh, he has enough. Well, never mind. Well, this is going to be a good program.
I'll live in the car with my trains.
We're really being nice with a guest in the house.
Yes, we are.
Speaking of trains,
We have a guest hiding in the back room. He's afraid to come out.
wise man.
Yes, it seems. He's still gauging us whether we're serious or not.
Seriously in need of a mental intervention.
Probably. Yeah, that could be. Sir, would you like to come and introduce yourself?
Sure. What would you like me to do?
Sit next to Brian. It's probably the safest seat in the house.
I don't know if it's safe in here at all, from what I've been hearing.
What do you mean? What are you trying to say about us?
Nothing.
I know Brian. I know he can control himself.
That's debatable.
No, believe it or not, I have.
Well, since you've been...
Want me to put this on? Will this do anything if I put it on?
It'll allow you to hear what everybody else is saying.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm really just here as a friend of John's. I've always been kind of interested in railroads. For the last 41 years, I was on the Chicago Fire Department, and I retired last year as a battalion chief. I was downtown Chicago for the last 12 years, and other than the CTA and the trains that ran around above and below ground, I also covered 3 stations, Millennium and Union Station and Ogilvie. So I've had a lot of incidents over the years with trains and always had kind of an interest. And just a side note, my dad, who was also on the Chicago Fire Department as a dispatcher for over 30 years, he actually worked for the Burlington back in 1951. He said he was an electrician's assistant, and so we kind of have a history there as well, not just with the fire department, but with the train industry as well. So I'm just here to listen to these gentlemen and just kind of want to hear what you guys have to say, and have a great admiration for railroad, not only workers but for the fans as well, and just glad to be here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, well, maybe some of your experiences would be able to fit in with some of our talks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, shall we start off with the news?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. This Surface Transportation Board orders 4 Class 1s to provide more detailed service recovery plans. We've been talking about the railroads as we go along, and there are ups and downs. Mostly they're downs. And so the Surface Transportation Board ordered the Burlington Northern, Santa Fe Railway, CSX, Norfolk Southern, and Union Pacific to correct deficiencies in their rail service recovery plans filed in response to the board's order that was issued on May 6th. And considering this one came out on June 14th. So I guess communication got lost somewhere along the way.
That's the story of their lives.
Yes. The STB has required the 4 Class 1s to develop plans in response to the severe service problems occurring across their networks. The board is also ordering the railroads to provide more information on their actions to improve service communications with customers, as well as more detailed information on what they are doing to hire more workers and provide reliable rail service. Service recovery plans, together with the additional requested information, are crucial components of the board's efforts to ensure that the large rail carriers overcome significant service challenges affecting many of the rail users, the public, STB officials said in a release. In April, STB held a 2-day hearing on shippers' complaints about problem with recent rail service. In response, the board asked the 4 Class 1s to file service recovery plans, specifically describe the remedial initiatives and promote the clear vantage point into operating conditions on the rail network. Unfortunately, these 4 carriers submitted plans that were perfunctory and lacked the level of detail that was mandated by the board's order. STB officials say the plans generally omitted important information needed to ensure the board and rail industry stakeholders that the largest railroads are addressing their deficiencies and have a clear and measurable trajectory in doing so. Particular concern was UP and NS's refusal to provide 6-month targets for achieving performance goals. Because of the plan's shortcomings, the board finds it necessary to require the railroads to supplement their plans and provide explicit further instruction on the critical information they must include. As you see, service railroads, the public.
Yep. On Facebook, I got an ad popped up from the belt say, "We're hiring."
Yep. I had that happen on Facebook, too.
Yeah. I'm like looking at it.
Besides the one that keeps saying you've been to Camp Lejeune?
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
I see the photograph that they sent out is politically correct. The villain happens to be a female and the victim a male.
Yeah. Of course, for Operation Lifesaver, found a good accident photo.
Saw that one. The photos,
Oh, no.
a amusement park train slammed into the side of a automobile.
58 Pontiac convertible.
Yep.
Went around the gates again.
There you go.
She probably ran over the gates.
Or didn't see the gates.
The big thing coming up is the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen had voted overwhelmingly to authorize a strike against the largest railroads. Now, when they did this, they have the deadline of August 18th or July 18th to for the railroads to come up in the city and contracts to come up with, a plan, or else we'll go down. But also, President Biden finally set up a board like 3 days before to be able to block the strike from happening. And he has 30 days. His board has 30 days to prevent the strike from happening. So, beginning of September, watch out.
Well, if he did it 3 days before the action date, that would make he would have impaneled his board on the 15th of July, which would make 15 August
Is when it'll start.
the button down
grounding.
day. Yeah. What's he going to do? Make a decision and federalize the railroads again?
Who knows?
He'll either go to court and get an injunction to stop him or invoke the Taft-Hartley law and say, okay, guys, back to work. And union leaders will probably just roll over and say, okay, instead of saying, nope. I don't think the union leaders are willing to go to jail.
Well, considering the way it is going...
And why do you have a union if you're not going to be strong?
See, that's it. What's going on is they haven't had a pay raise since the 2019. The heads of the railroads are fighting for single individual in the cab, which crosses so many safety lines.
So they normally run with two, is that it?
Yeah,
Would that be standard procedure?
that is it. Once they got rid of the cabooses, yes.
Yeah, and obviously for safety reasons, you would definitely want to have a minimum of two.
Yes, because the engineer, even if he had a bank of monitors in front of him, he couldn't concentrate on the bottoms and monitors and look straight ahead.
Right.
And
Not to mention if he had a medical issue or something. That'd
right.
be another problem.
that is correct.
And then you get the broken couplers, halfway down the 2 mile long train. And of course, it's the second to last car. Right now, the conductor has to take about 25, 30 minutes to walk to the other end to look for it when they break.
Well, now that they're combining trains for this precision railway, it's funny you don't have people, who are actual railroaders going up through the ranks. And all you have are the millennials and the money people. Well, this is what we can do to make more money.
That's all they're concerned about.
Yes, that's why they had laid off so many people. They laid off engineers, conductors, and of course they don't have track gangs like they used to, and there's a lot more wrecks happening because of that. But we have outside source. We outsource everything. And you're wondering what's going to happen with the profits. But then you got all the people. They never started calling back. They just wanted to get young people so they didn't have to pay the premium rates.
Yeah. And they got the 2-tier union deal too.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of places do is they got the 2-tier where after a certain date, if you're hired, you don't get all the benefits that the seniors had, the long-time employees.
That's been unfortunately going on for a long
The railroads
time.
have caught on to it.
And not just the railroads.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whatever happens.
No, all we need is one hell of a good accident, then this will straighten out.
Well,
real quick.
we've had a couple of good accidents.
Yeah, I was going to say there's been some number of
But you
accidents.
need it in a
lately.
hugely populated area for it to have impact, like New York City, or maybe in Baltimore, or maybe in Cincinnati, or maybe in St. Louis.
St. Louis, L.A.
Yeah. Not out in the middle of the
Tacoma.
desert or middle of the farmland where so what?
I know on the fire department we always wanted to be proactive as opposed to reactive, and this would definitely be a reactive measure if we're waiting for a catastrophe to make a point, and I think
It's sad to say that,
yeah,
but that's...
I know, it is.
Playing the way it is.
What else you got?
Want some good news?
Sure.
Please?
Yes,
All right.
let's have some good news.
Hey, here we go. We're talking about something green. Okay?
All right.
I'm waiting.
BART again employs grazing goats for vegetation management.
Yeah, I had that one too.
Also good for greasing the curves.
Read the whole thing.
Yeah, Bay Area Rapid Transit has returned 450 grazing goats to the transit agency property as a form of vegetation management and fire danger reduction. The goats are grazing on the hillsides of Walnut Creek in Hayward, California. They eat dry brush and grass and use, in place of using fossil fuels and reliant lawnmowers, which increase the risk of sparking fire. BART officials said in the blog post, goats are also quiet, reducing noise disruptions compared to using mowing equipment. Workers' injuries also of concern to the transit agency because many of the slopes and hillsides are too steep to safely cut by hand or operated on using equipment. Poison oak is also an issue for humans, but for goats, it's just another food source. Most people don't realize how much land and property the district owns and maintains, says Glenn Eddy, BART's assistant superintendent of Way and Facilities Grounds Maintenance. Most of our rights-of-way consist of wide expanses of property allowed for a safety buffer and access to tracks as needed. Most are all covered by wild grasses, vegetation that require maintenance year-round. Some areas of BART property are considered extremely fragile and require less invasive treatment. The goats are contracted by the Coalinga based business Living Systems Land Management, which owns about 4,000 goats. The goats are a cross between Spanish and Boer goats and work faster than any human, clearing about an acre each day. Goats are used to mow its properties for about 5 years, grazing anywhere from 5 to 25 acres at each location.
I remember many years ago when I got on the job, they used to run a car, you guys maybe can correct me on this, called a weed burner.
Yep.
That would spark. And we would call them prairie days. They would get all the prairie and the weeds burning along the railroad right-of-ways. And occasionally it got a little bit out of control, and we had a couple of lumberyard fires, and I think that kind of stopped that practice many years ago. But I do recall that, and it was a way for the railroads to control the growth along the right-of-ways there. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they used to have a lot of, they had trains clearly for that.
Yeah.
And for doing cutting trees and everything else,
Yeah.
trimming.
Yeah.
But then they'd let it fall by the wayside because when the roads merged, one of the first things that they always did was cut down on maintenance crews.
Yeah.
You didn't have that many track workers.
Yep.
You didn't have that many wrecking crews.
Yep.
And it's a shame.
Yeah, I never heard the railroads admit to it, though, that they would send a train through the city that would, spark fires. And
If you watch Virtual Rail Fan, right now they got the railroads are running their rail grinders up and down, the Herzog, the big ones. And up in Wapaka, Wisconsin, the thing had come around with the rail, and all of a sudden, all the vegetation along the right-of-way was on fire, so the train made it back up, and they got water they carry water, and they were putting it out. They even bother calling the fire department. They were putting it out. But they spray when they go by. They have a spray at the end that sprays because they don't want to catch the ties on fire.
Right.
Yeah, I've never seen any of them put it out, from my experience. Though they'd let us do that, But I get it. I understand. It's an issue,
It's probably because the city was paying you less than the railroad was paying their workers.
You're probably right. Yeah, I never looked at it that way. I hope the goats stay off the tracks, though.
All right, well, I got a few items here. He got the goat one. I should have printed off the one about the butterflies, though, but that was like 6 pages long. But basically, it turns out, I'll just sum it up what I read, that the monarch butterfly follows basically the KCS Railroad and in the Canadian Pacific into Canada. It actually follows the tracks when they migrate. And now there's some group getting together with the railroads and a couple other guys to ensure that corridor stays, and they're planting trees along it now. Yeah, but it's a 6-page article. I didn't want to print it off.
Well, there's a big effort underway to ensure the monarchs don't get interfered with, because there's not as many monarchs as there used to be.
Yes, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah,
And it has nothing to do with free elections.
yeah, it's on the endangered species list already. Anyway, California Shortline sues to block state and local oversight. Mendocino Railroad, a California shortline that acquired California Western Railroad and its skunk train after the company went bankrupt, has filed a federal lawsuit seeking to challenge state and local agencies' attempt to regulate the railroad. The shortline is asking the U.S. District Court, I love this title, U.S. District Court for Northern District of California Eureka Division to declare that the efforts by the California Coastal Commission and the city of Fort Bragg to impose state and local land use, permitting, and other pre-clearance requirements are preempted under federal law. The shortline wants the court to rule that its rail operations are subject only to federal regulation by the STB. It is increasingly difficult to operate a railroad in California when both state and local agencies attempt to expand their regulatory powers into areas clearly reserved for federal authorities, said John Jason Pinelli, the railroad's president. The lawsuit is not intended to seek relief from the application of state land use, permitting, or other regulations that apply to the Mendocino Railroad, non-property in Fort Bragg, railroad officials said. The railroad wants to develop land it acquired via eminent domain from the Georgia Pacific Paper Company. The city of Fort Bragg is seeking a court order that declares Mendocino Railroad an excursion railroad, which would not have the power of eminent domain. So basically, they're fighting over whether the railroad had eminent domain or not.
The California Western did.
And it says short line operates in Mendocino, Stanislaus, Tuolumne, Ventura, and Yolo counties and offers a mix of freight, passenger tourism, and filmmaking services. And it said, side note is that the CWR and the skunk train have operated continuously through the Redwood Forests since 1885.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's just a fight. The railroad said, they got the land from Georgia Pacific through eminent domain because obviously the paper mill shut down. And the city said, oh, no, you're a tourist railroad. You can't do that. And that's what they're in court fighting over.
Mostly, their skunk trains are running on the California Western. And that's what they're trying to overlook.
Yeah. So in other news, Patriot Rail is acquiring Pioneer lines. Both of them are short line operators.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The Pioneer operates 15 short lines in 12 states. And it said Patriot operates lines in 31 states. And the acquisition will offer, they give you the usual nonsense, but it's basically two short line operators merging. So that's people are saying they're going to have a funny paint job like the G&W has. I don't know if G&W had a good idea. They have one logo and they just changed the letters in the thing.
Yeah.
And some local news. Not much on the news thing. Double freight rail line in Illinois to be reduced to one. There have been 2 tracks running through Forest Park for over a century. Trains on the route move along the south side of the Eisenhower Expressway, curve north over Des Plaines Avenue before continuing on to River Forest. CSX, however, is pulling up one of those tracks. The double main line is being converted to a single main line, according to CSX. Here's the part that makes me laugh. There has been talk of turning the expired track into a bike path. But Cindy Sheed, a spokesperson for the Class 1 Railroad, said it is not a good candidate for conversion to a trail due to the proximity to active rail operations. For safety of employees and the community, CSX can only consider conversion of rail lines to trails if the property in question is not adjacent to rail operations.
Who thought of that? That is,
I know.
talk about safety.
Yeah, I read it. Well, it's in
Go NIMBY.
Oh, yeah. Basically, it's a NIMBY thing. It's just like I was reading. I finally got an issue of Railway Magazine from England. They, for some reason, delayed getting it in. It was the May issue.
Oh, that's timely.
Yeah. And, well, they have some really good articles and stuff. And then they actually started a column called World News, railway, what's happening. The U.S. always provides the funnest ones. And another Rails to Trails.
Yep.
Story is in there from California. Down south, and they want to pull up the rails. They have a standard gauge line that goes down and goes through Santa Cruz, and it goes actually right downtown, and it actually has a parking lot 8 miles away where a lot of people can park and come to the town, and they have the train that takes them there. And they're saying, nah, we don't need this anymore here. Let's tear it up so this way they can have a bike path. And they're the ones that go right by the big trees and Roaring Camp narrow gauge lines. I'm going, this is like the NIMBYs that don't want to do a passing siding in Glenview because, it'll have a trash train sitting on it.
They don't even operate in this area.
Yeah, how about that? Well, that's what the newspaper article said anyway.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll end with some good news. Another short line in the area called the Burns Harbor Short Line Railroad. To operate existing rail trackage owned by the state of Indiana and controlled and managed under a statute by the Burns Harbor Short Line Railroad, indirect parent, Ports of Indiana, formerly known as Indiana Ports Commission, It's going to be 4.15 miles, forms a loop that goes out. If you look at the map, Burns Harbor sticks out into the lake. So it loops around the whole thing, and it will end up being about 4.5 miles. So that's our new short line.
Ah, that's great.
Burns Harbor, and it's called Burns Harbor Short Line.
Direct and to the point.
Yep. Okay, Kevin, you're up.
Yeah.
You're up,
A
Kevin.
couple of things. Number one, Brian mentioned railroads not having sufficient personnel. Amtrak announced that the Polar Express train in Chicago will be canceled for 2022 because they don't have enough trained personnel to operate the train.
Yeah.
So, you know,
How many Amtrak employees are furloughed?
all hail the executives, let the kids suffer. If you get trains.com via your computer or your telephone, or if you're one of those rich kids with the Dick Tracy TV wristwatch computer, there was a real interesting article on ground cover that you can make from stuff in your backyard. And basically they said if you, provided that you don't have, you know, peat or an awful lot of heavy vegetation, you can take a garden trowel worth of dirt and spread it out on a cookie sheet and throw it in the oven at 250 for an hour or so until it's good and dry, and then sift it through several different commonly available screens, and you'll get different sizes of ground cover. And they said if you have the little shaker jars for parsley, those are great for the fines. And if you get the slightly bigger ones, like for garlic, those are good for the mediums. And if you have a container from your Parmesan or Parmesan Romano that you drag out when mom or wife makes spaghetti, rinse it out real good, and that will give you your rocks or your talus. Another easily obtained ground cover are the loose granules from roofing shingles.
Yep.
We've probably got 20 pounds of that spread out over the layout out at the Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club. I know they bought 6 or 7 different shades, and does a beautiful job. And the universal half white glue, half water adhesive does a good job of bonding it to the layout. Menards is giving Lionel for a run. They offered a new building. This one actually has a guy on a horse. I meant to bring the most recent copy of Classic Toy Trains with me because it had a beautiful picture of it in there. Another Cripple Creek building. Still haven't figured out what the deal is with Cripple Creek, but that's the 4th Cripple Creek building.
Oh, so that's a nice ghost town if you ever go to Colorado. Plus, they got a 2-foot gauge railroad there.
They have. They're also offering container boxes and a ton of rolling stock, including a really nice-looking Morton Salt covered hopper that cannot be mistaken as a clone of the Lionel Morton Salt hopper. And they're also offering a 1957 Dodge swept side pickup truck for $4.99 in 6 different paint jobs. It's a basic model, 143 scale. The hood, the tailgate, the doors, do not open. The only option you get with it is that the bed cover is made of plastic and will lift out. So you can put it on your layout with the cover, without the cover, with the cover propped up. You know, you can make your own instant Christmas vehicle. Just lop the base off of the bottle brush Christmas tree that you get wherever you get your Christmas trees, and stuff it in the back of the pickup truck. I got an email from Chicagoland Toy and Hobby, and I don't know if this will air in time, but Friday, August 12th will be the last day to pre-order. But they are offering HO scale MP36 locomotives in Metra, BN, Milwaukee Road, Hiawatha, Heritage, and Rock Island Heritage paint schemes. The Milwaukee Road, Hiawatha is a striking paint job. The Rock Island is the Orsino that has been lovingly referred to as the hot dog. They're also offering coaches and 3 cab units and packs with 2 coaches and a cab unit. So you may not get a chance to get in there by the 12th to get in, but if you're into HO, it's a nice little chance to get a little variety. The Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club is offering their first car that will be offered in 2 road numbers. It's the Lumberjack Lager Reefer. You can order a car in 1 number or a car in 2 numbers. Go to the Chicagoland CLRCtrains.com, and the order form is there rather than put all the order information on the air tonight. And Star Alliance, the High-Speed Rail Alliance, has now accepted Deutsches Bahn as a member of the alliance. So German Rail is now part of the High-Speed Rail Alliance. Maybe it is allowance. Anyhow, that's about it for the moment, unless somebody says something and I feel the need to make a sarcastic remark.
No, that's okay.
You do a good job.
Sarcasm is the highest form of flattery.
Now,
And you do a good job of that.
as Bullwinkle would say, here is something that you really enjoy.
Nothing up my sleeve.
Remember, you got to watch where you get your information from. You got to keep open to all sources. I have an issue of Hot Rod Magazine, and it very plainly says planes, trains, and automobiles. The replica P-51, the power plant for it is a 540 big block Chevy, straight 6. And that's what propels the plane. Plus, they have a history of GM's electromotive train division. I guess this might be a Chevy issue with all the stuff on Corvettes and everything in here, including the Corvette when they were first proposing it.
Oh, Harley Earl's Corvette? Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, whoa.
There's a very interesting YouTube video on that.
Yeah, well, they got an interesting story in here on it about the whole thing. But if you go towards the back of the book, really back of the book, the train shows up on page 98.
So much for trains.
Well, they show that, and then they do show a couple shots. Though they do pay homage to steam with the 844 and the 4014 big boy. But they show the pictures in the plant, the first EMD, the Doodlebug from 1922. And several of the others before they closed down the plant.
Yeah, I see the picture of the Aero train there.
Yeah, this is the clay mock-up model.
Oh, there's one up at the National Railway Museum in Green Bay.
And the other one is in St. Louis.
Yes, but the one in St. Louis, unless they've got parts of it hidden elsewhere, is only 3 cars.
That's all. They had 2 or 3 cars for display.
And it was
And the
in sad shape the last time I saw it.
And it's a shame because nobody's taking care of it. It should have been one of the streamliners that actually went down to North Carolina, to the roundhouse down there when they had all the F units there and all. I mean, they could have taken the F7 or the E7 out of the Pensy Museum and took that down. You know, and that's a streamlining unit, so yeah. People don't think.
Story Television, 26.5 broadcast on Tuesdays has technology and innovation. And last week they were running a 4-hour block on American railroads and railway engines.
Trains Unlimited.
Yeah, and they had some very nice footage, including almost an hour on the Wabash Cannonball.
Well, yeah,
beautiful footage.
You gotta watch the way you say it to me because I can see it 2 ways:
Go ahead.
on rail and on sea. Because my last command was called the Wabash,
Okay.
and they picked up, considering the gentleman who sang that wonderful song, Mr. Roy Acuff, happened to sign a picture of the ship. And they used it at every refueling
Cool.
during its first cruise, and had a steam locomotive whistled on the stack. And I first came across it when I was making my first cruise, going to Vietnam. And we pulled up alongside to refuel, but it also had carried ammunition and food. It could re-equip a small battle group for 30 days. And we were doing SAR missions, Sea and Air Rescue, and ended up replacing one of the destroyers that got hit, the Goldsboro, on the gun line. And that's how we spent Christmas. And then we went to Japan.
Well, I hope you got resupplied just before you spent Christmas on the gun line,
Yes.
so you at least got a decent meal.
Oh yeah, we had enough bullets to use too. But yeah,
Oh, so a good meal and entertainment.
yeah. So Wabash Cannonball was both the train and the ship.
Okay, seeing as you are familiar with it, can you verify that the song Wabash Cannonball predates the train? I listened to a radio program, and they said the song predates the train.
What, the passenger train?
Yeah, the song Wabash Cannonball was actually performed and on the airways before the Wabash Cannonball was
When
put
did
in
it come on the
service.
air?
That's why I'm asking for verification.
I was reading an article that said it even predated that there was a song in the early 20s that was a Wabash Cannonball song.
Yes.
And that the railroad in 46 decided to go ahead and name a train called the Wabash Cannonball.
Mm-hmm.
So the song was already popular before the war.
Yeah, it was in the 20s is when the song came out.
My son went to school at Catholic University of America. So no matter how you cut it, it's more than a one-day hop. We stopped at a hotel. I think it was a Holiday Star, I'm not sure. But in the restaurant, the walls were painted as murals, including a tail-on shot of the Wabash Cannonball, complete with the square-tailed observation with the iron rail and the big Wabash Cannonball drumhead. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Nice scenery to have breakfast with.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, it beats a McDonald's.
Let's talk about some good news.
Go.
We'll go steam. Believe it or not, we got some steam. Well, this weekend we had Wisconsin Metro decided to sponsor a train to come down from Wisconsin, Hartford, Wisconsin. Sioux Line, Mikado, 1003. And some people had some fun with it.
Oh, it was a nice train to see. It was the engine. It had a tank car.
Tank car for with it was
It had a
supplying
refrigerator
water.
car and two cabooses at the end of it.
Yeah,
and
but,
then about 5 minutes later came a Metro SW following it looking for spare parts.
Oh yeah. I'm sitting there. I'm wondering. The train was an hour late coming down.
Yes, it was. Didn't get by a Grayling
And I
until
was-
quarter
I-
to 11.
I was there at up in Glenview. I could, if I'd known it was going to stop in Morton Grove, I would have been in Morton Grove. But they had a Fred on the end.
Yeah, I heard
No,
about
they
that.
had
Yeah.
they had two Freds on the end.
I heard about that. The person that, and then they had to go pick him up where the,
when they got to Western Avenue,
yeah,
and
I heard about it.
he got pulled onto the train when it stopped in Grays Lake.
Because at first he wasn't going to do it, and they convinced him, you were asked to go on the train, and he finally did. Or how what?
Yeah, but Linda picked up on it when I told him that Fred was on the end of the train. She says, well, he had to be there. You know, every train has a Fred on the end, a flashing rear end device. So was Fred doing any flashing?
We'd have to ask.
Yeah, I am. But yeah, speaking of Fred, he's been happy the last 4 weeks.
Well, that's a good sign, considering what he's gone through.
Yeah, but at least he's getting away from Dave.
Again, finally?
Yeah, it's getting close. If you go to North Judson, Indiana, it has a nice little museum there.
Mm-hmm.
Has some interesting equipment there you can look at, like BL2s. Even the first switcher from the Monon with no cab. They do have the grafting cab in there now. But they signed a contract with Fred Haberkamp, and Bach number 1, nice little Forney, 044, oil burner, looks beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's been running on the weekends now, qualifying crews. And they're going to start pulling passengers in September.
Amen.
So
And-
it'll be available for the Halloween trains.
Yes. North Judson, Indiana. Worth it.
Yep.
Please drive there to go see it.
Very nice. They have a nice end scale setup of how the original junction looked between all the railroads in end scale
The
with
two
trains.
the two tracks
They
that you
don't run,
see
though.
over that Chessie uses is the old Erie-Lackawanna trackage. Erie-Lackawanna.
When that engine runs, how far is it going to go? How much track do they have for that to run?
Well, once they get out, they can go out onto the main line and run.
Oh, they can.
They are going to be federally qualified.
Okay.
They have the classes they've been going through. They're going to have to take the engineer's test.
Okay.
It's so fine.
I know. I have heard.
And yeah,
I have not been that much involved, but I've heard what Fred has gone through and what he had. It was how excuse me, how he with people.
he's handled it pretty well.
Yeah, because he could have lost it in many ways, and knowing how Fred can be.
Mm-hmm. And thank God some people came to his rescue.
That's a long time coming. Because the people that know Fred, we were all concerned about how long this engine was going to take and what he had to go through.
Oh, yeah. Hey, 10 years.
It's a long time.
Yes, it is. I know I was there in the beginning. I helped clean the parts.
Well, I understand. It just.
No, we did a lot of research on it.
Well,
I'll
Larry
tell you-
did a lot of research on it too. For me.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was the one who got me involved because he knew I knew some things that he didn't know, and I shared it with him. But yeah, we both. Heck, I went to the Pennsylvania Museum to see if I could find the blueprints.
I know it sat in his facility for a number of years on skids in the shop.
Well, basically, he was waiting to finish up the Leviathan and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was aware of what, and who he was working with is another, which we don't want to go into. To a point, we don't want to go into it. We'll leave it at that. Too many experts.
Yep. Also, if you want to get yourself a nice kit to build the big boy, Lego has a 2,000-piece set. It's selling to make the big boy.
Is it being offered as a static,
Nope.
or is it Lego Railroad?
Yep.
I think personally I shall wait till the Northern Illinois Lego Railroad Club comes around with their mobile display, and I'll make the Hodge over to Oak Lawn Library.
To see if
see it.
somebody bought it.
Yeah. They have some tremendous builders.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
hey,
mean, they had 2 or 3 city layouts. Somebody built the Costa Concordia, sunbathing on its port side, getting a nice tan on its starboard.
I mean, when I really saw my first rail layout was the NMRA convention in 2005. I went down to Cincinnati where it was being held. I was able to get a couple days. I got the weekend off. I was able to mark off and go to the convention and help them sell the centerline track cleaner. My friend Dick Webster. And I'm running into a lot of people that I met when I was stationed there from 78 to 80. And it was wonderful. It was great seeing them. But what got me was they had 14 clubs at that time. They came and each set up a table, but they joined together to make one project for Cincinnati. And they made Cincinnati Union Terminal.
In Legos?
In Legos with all tracks.
I put 2 trains together in Legos, and now I have a Disney one that's still sitting in the box that I got a year ago, that I haven't, because I'm thinking, where am I going to put this after I get it together? It's a lot of...
We're waiting for you to get a lot of things together there, Ron.
I know. I'm just... Don't go there. What are you giving time out for?
Be civil.
We are civil.
Not Sybil, civil.
Well, whatever.
And quit calling me Shirley.
Train Fest, November 12 and 13 in Milwaukee.
Yay! Finally.
Finally, yeah.
In the most recent issue of Classic Toy Trains, well towards the back of the issue, there is a ad that gives you a website and a discount code that you can order your tickets ahead of time and get a 10% discount when you order. I forgot to bring the magazine, and I cannot remember the exact website or the discount code, and I don't want to put bad information out. But if you're going to go, order your ticket ahead of time. If nothing else, it will help defray the cost of gasoline to get to Milwaukee.
Did they raise the price of you have no idea?
I would imagine that, seeing it as it has been 3 years, the price probably has gone up.
Okay.
Like
anything else, prices go up.
Yeah.
Well,
but at least the gas is coming down from up there.
Yeah.
It's a hobby event, so there's not going to be any government support or rebate. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good bet that the price has gone up.
The price of gasoline Tuesday when I left Elkhorn was $3.83 a gallon at the Mobile station that I go to.
Well, that's not bad.
Thank you, John.
That's
only 50 cents more than I paid 2 days ago.
Where?
Route 83 in Ridgeland. I paid $4.37. They're the most reasonable in the area if you live south and west. If you're buying gas north or west,
forget it,
because Saturday it was $4.69 a gallon at almost every gas station on Lincoln Highway between I-57 and I-80 was $4.69.
Mm-hmm.
There was one gas station, and the brand is of questionable parentage, which means the gasoline is of questionable parentage, and they were $4.44.
Well, I go out and check a website called GasBuddy.com, and it gives you the latest prices.
Yeah, but I'm not going to drive to Wisconsin to save 50 cents
I mean, in
a
the
gallon.
area, you could pick it by what township, what county, what state, what city, and it tells you the top 10, the lowest top 10 prices.
I go to York and Irving. There's a Shell station right in the corner, just west of the airport. I just paid $4.24, I think is what I paid.
Wow.
Yeah, I go out to Thornton's.
It's not bad.
I go to
It's not
Thornton's
far from
on 83 and Foster.
here. Yes. There's a
Good
Shell
price
station there, too.
Yeah, good prices in that area.
That's right.
I did the BP station up at Great Lakes, and that was for $27.
Yeah. You can find it. You just got to look a little bit.
Right.
Well, since I
Be
go
in
up
the right
there to
county.
the base all
But I
the
mean,
time.
if you're going that direction, then
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
But if you're going, you're just
The P-51.
for me to go or you to go out of our way to.
Yeah.
Me, I'd try to look for coal myself.
Answer
I have a hard time.
Brian, that P-51 that you referenced with the Chevy Big Block in it,
Yeah.
or the Chevy Big Straight Six, how does that compare on RPMs and airspeed with the original Packard Rolls-Royce?
I have no idea.
Nothing in the article?
Not that I saw.
Okay.
But I'll go through and reread it again, and I will email you a report.
You know, it's just
You'll check and report.
a 6-cylinder versus a 12-cylinder. That's why I'm asking.
As our express comes into the terminal, we want to thank you for joining us on our journey through the wonderful world of trains. Chicago Junction is a production of the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and can be listened to on the web at www.windycityhometown.com, where you can listen to tonight's broadcast and all of our past episodes. You can also sample some of the other fine programs that are being ordered. We'd like to thank our guest tonight for adding to his wisdom. Hopefully he comes back again, or we didn't scare him away.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Until next month, when we journey to Chicago Junction. This is your announcer, Brian Valou, saying happy rails to you, and good night, Mr. Ryan, wherever you are.
You have been listening to Chicago Junction on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Wednesday, August the 10th, the year 2022. Chicago Junction was produced and directed by John DeVita, and our special thanks to John Shikanda, the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Wednesday, August the 10th, the year 2022. Until next time, friends, please be safe and thanks for listening.